Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to crack the code on something that trips up even the most advanced English speakers. Those tiny little words, and the. When do you use them? When do you just leave them out? I know it can feel like you have to memorize a million different rules, but I promise you, there's one simple idea that makes it all click. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a classic head-scratcher. Why do we say Mount Everest with no article at all, but we always say the Alps? I mean, they're both mountains, right? It feels totally random, but trust me, it's not. And this one little example is actually the key to understanding the entire system. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what's going on here.
So here's the secret. The goal is not to memorize a giant list of rules. The real trick is to completely change how you think about articles. So for a minute, forget rules. Instead, I want you to picture a line, a spectrum. On one end, you have things that are super general, and on the other end, things that are super specific. Every single time you use a noun, you're basically just placing it somewhere on this line.
And this right here is the whole system in a nutshell. It's that simple. On one side, you've got general. This is when you're talking about any old thing, not one in particular. That's where you'll use an, or sometimes no article at all. And on the other side, you've got specific. This is for when you and the person you're talking to both know exactly which one you mean. And for that, it's always the.
So, it really just boils down to asking yourself this one single question every single time. Before you speak, before you write, just take a half second and ask, am I talking about a specific, known thing, or is this just a general idea, or any random example? Honestly, that little mental check is going to be your best friend.
All right, theory's great and all, but let's see how this whole specificity spectrum thing actually works in the real world. We're going to look at some everyday situations that cause a ton of confusion, and we'll start with places we go all the time.
First up, let's talk about institutions. You know, places like school, university, church, hospital. The key here isn't the place itself, but what you're talking about. Are you talking about the general activity that happens there, or are you talking about the actual physical building?
And this just lays it out perfectly. Look, when we say, she goes to university, we're talking about the whole idea of higher education, the purpose. We don't really care which specific building it is. But if we say, the university near my house is new, now we're pointing to a specific physical place that you and I could both go look at. So, general idea? No article. Specific building? You need the.
And guess what? The exact same thinking works for meals. You just have to ask yourself, is this just the normal, everyday routine, or are we talking about one particular memorable meal?
See that pattern emerging? We had breakfast at 8. That's just a fact about our daily routine. It's general. But if you say, the breakfast we had was delicious, whoa, now you're talking about that specific meal experience. You've made it special by describing it, and that's what makes it specific. So it needs the.
Okay, but what about stuff you can't even touch? You know, ideas like love or happiness or information. We call these abstract nouns. And yep, you guessed it, the spectrum works here too. Are you talking about the big general idea or one specific example of it?
Check this out. Love is important. Here we're talking about the abstract concept of love in general. It couldn't be broader. But if we say, the love between them was obvious, we're not talking about all love everywhere, we're pointing to a very specific, real-world case of it. So, general concept, no article. Specific instance, use the.
All right, now we get to the part that feels like it's all about memorization. Names of places. But even here, there's actually a logic hiding underneath. Don't think of these as random exceptions. Think of them more like established conventions that usually follow a pattern, like is it a single thing or a group of things?
So here's a good rule of thumb. If the name represents a group or collection of things, it almost always gets the. Think about countries with plural names like the Netherlands or the Philippines, or a mountain range, which is a collection of mountains, like the Alps. Same goes for huge features like rivers, seas, and deserts, the Nile, the Sahara. We treat them as unique, specific entities on the map.
And here is the other side of that coin, and the answer to our original puzzle. We usually don't use any article for singular places. So most single countries, like France or Vietnam, continents, like Asia, cities, like Paris, and yep, single mountains, like Mount Everest. We treat it like a proper name, just like a person's name. So it's just Mount Everest, but it's the Alps. Mystery solved.
Oh, and a quick one here. Things that we all agree are unique in our world
are by their very nature specific, right? There's only one sun in our solar system, one moon that we see every night, one global internet. So they always get the sun, the moon, the internet. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, we've got the specificity spectrum, and we've got the naming conventions. Now let's put it all together and see how we can use this knowledge to turn those common mistakes into confident, correct sentences. This is where it all comes together.
Let's break these down real quick. She is teacher. No, she is one of many teachers in the world, right? It's a general profession. So, she is a teacher. I had the lunch at 12. Well, if it was just your regular, everyday lunch, that's a routine. It's general. So, I had lunch. And finally, the Mount Everest is high. We just learned this one. The convention for single mountains is no article. So it's just Mount Everest is high. See? It all ties back to the principles we just talked about.
So you see, articles aren't just annoying little grammar rules you have to memorize. They're actually a code, a powerful tool that you can use to signal what's general and what's specific. And the big takeaway here is that you are in control. When you choose a or the or nothing at all, you're not just trying to be correct. You are actively telling your listener where to focus their attention. And that right there is the leap from just being a learner to being a master. So the question isn't just about getting it right. It's, now that you know the code, how are you going to use it?